Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're making a monster movie, and it's a sea monster. A kraken for your wrist. It's the Omega Seamaster Ploprof 1200m. You can see, and you can purchase, this obsessively excessive modern dive watch on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images that don't include my wrist, and naturally complete pricing details for this and our entire collection of Omega timepieces. Now, you may note that I'm wrenching my wrist somewhat awkwardly to get the shot, and that's because the watch is so big, I'm actually having trouble constraining all of its strap, clasp, and case within the frame of my camera, but some explanation certainly is required. This is a cuttable strap, and it's also a brand new strap, meaning whoever decides to take the plunge with this watch, figuratively and literally, will have the right of first passage through the strap, that is, with a razor. Cut it to size, and it's actually an easy watch to wear. Now, I should mention the ergonomics of this watch, like the timepiece that inspired it, are surprisingly good. Lug to lug is where it will shock you, but let's talk about other dimensions first, because I know you're wondering. Across the broad of the case from 9 to 3, including that enormous crown guard structure and the flanking structure at the 3 o'clock side, how broad is it? 55 millimeters. It's 55 millimeters lengthwise along the wrist. Now here's where it begins to surprise. It's actually only 48 millimeters across the wrist, meaning across the wrist it's actually more compact than something like a Rolex Submariner with solid end links. A current generation sub-C on a bracelet is broader across the wrist than this monster. It is thick, however, and that's where it's more in league with its Rolex equivalent, the Deep Sea Sea Dweller. The watch is 17.6 millimeters thick, so it does ride high on the wrist. Make no mistake, this watch is the nautical equivalent of IWC's Big Pilot, something so extreme, so purposeful, and so oversized that oversized becomes a style. It's not supposed to look proportional. If it looks proportional on your wrist, you're a giant, Game of Thrones style. The bottom line is that this watch on my wrist sits securely and easily. I'm going to zoom out for a moment, if you'll forgive me, because I just need a little bit more space to breathe here. Now you can get a better sense of how the watch sits on my wrist. Again, this is the kind of thing that needs to be seen from 2 steps back. You see how it fits easily? It's also very comfortable because there's really no pivot to the strap. It shoots straight down, and then the supple, natural vulcanized rubber bends around the wrist. Let's talk a little bit about the strap here. Okay, the watch is immensely heavy, so it needs a heavy clasp to counterbalance it. If it doesn't have a bracelet, there's got to be a meaty clasp. They equalize each other so that one is sitting on the top of the wrist, the other is on the bottom, acting like the keel of a sailboat, preventing it from capsizing. If you like to wear your watch loose, you're going to be happy that this clasp is massive. Now, the strap is nicely made. It's very substantial. There's no way you're going to tear it. You will get over half a decade out of this strap if you wear it every day. I can say that with confidence, having seen it happen. This model originally debuted in 2009, the revived Ploprof, so I can speak very highly of both the clasp design and the strap associated. Now, at first glance, it's a twin trigger release clasp. Secure, but nothing special. You see these on many Omega models, but not like this. Now, there's a push button slider internally that allows you to micrometrically adjust it. This is good because you don't have to cut the strap perfectly to size. You've got about 1 inch of adjustment. That is 25 millimeters for our friends around the world. So you really only have to get into the ballpark, or perhaps I should say the cricket field, again, for our international fans. But the bottom line is that's not even the end of the adjustability. There's a full-blown dive extension built in. Once you're done, you've got about 2 inches of adjustability built into this clasp, and all of it feels like it was cut from the solid of a single Mosler safe. It's incredibly impressive. The only clasp in the industry that can compete is the one on the Rolex Deep Sea. Now, the watch itself is historically inspired, but I should emphasize, if you only have experience with the original, this is much bigger. The original watch, and Mike Michaels, our watchmaker, owns one of his own, is much smaller. In practice, that watch is about the size of a 42mm modern steel sports watch. This is about the size of a nuclear missile sub, but it is beautifully appointed and richly finished in ways the original was not. For one thing, you can see the nuance of the case finish, that beautiful polished hairline bevel along the side, contrasting with the vertical satin finish, a handsome departure from the usual lengthwise or longitudinal satin grain. Now you'll note that the bezel, no longer capped by acrylic as in the original, is now capped by sapphire, like the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, beautifully executed. It's also a unique bezel system. Let me talk a little bit about how this bezel works. You push down the orange plunger at 2 o'clock, and then you can actually rotate this diving bezel in either direction. Line it up with the minute hand to time an impromptu 0 to 60 minute interval. Very useful in my opinion, more useful than a conventional chronograph, certainly easier to read, and I rarely time intervals of longer than 1 hour when I'm wearing a chronograph. What you can't see is that there's actually a date window hidden just underneath that oversized orange minute hand, so it does have that functionality. The dial is a white gloss, beautiful applied indices, all of them. There is a helium escape valve built into the bottom of the shoulder at the 3 o'clock side. This is a feature not seen on the original from the 70s, which was pronounced to be so gas tight that helium could not get in. Therefore, there was no need to include a valve to allow it to get out. In the modern era, Omega has backtracked on that, and I think for the best. Now, inside the watch is an Omega caliber 8500 coaxial chronometer. It's both a COSC chronometer and the modern tri-level Omega coaxial system, which finally realizes the potential of the George Daniels escapement with long-term timing stability, short-term timing precision, and long-term minimized maintenance requirements. A free-sprung twin mainspring barrels with a 60-hour power reserve. It features a time zone functionality such that when you do thread the crown out, and I may as well show you how this apparatus works, you can jump the hour hand in 1 hour increments. Let me see if I can find there it is. You can jump the hour hand forward or backwards in 1 hour increments as you travel. Note the seconds hand continues to move. This does not affect the timing precision of the watch. You'll also note that it will drive the date as you jump the international date line in either direction with no hazard to the movement. It does feature a full dual-anchored balance bridge with a free-sprung balance for exceptional resistance to shock-induced timing deviation and damage. So it's a very tough movement internally, as well as being exclusive to Omega. You will not see the caliber 8500 or its 9300 chronograph counterpart in any other Swatch Group product. In terms of the underlying engineering, it could easily be found in a luxury watch at any price. This is a watch that is impressively crafted. Is it overkill? Yes it is. But that may be the purest definition of luxury. What it also is honest. In every respect, this watch walks the walk just as it talks the talk. As tough as it looks, that's a rarity in a luxury world that is just rife with posturing and pretenders. This watch is the real thing and surprisingly comfortable. It may be the ultimate vacation watch for your wrist wherever you vacation this winter.